Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building Mulligan International Airport in Verde Beach. And in the previous episode, we worked on getting our cargo facilities in line. And today we are going to work on detailing. And probably the biggest miss in the airport build, which is the entryway. So I really botched this. So if you take a look at this, the top is departures, the bottom is arrivals. So if you are departing and you're coming in here, you go through the roundabout and you can't get there. So if you're arriving, easy, you can come pick someone up. If you're departing, you come through the roundabout, you come down here, you go through a roundabout, then you go up here, and it's a mess. If you're going to the hotel, well, you've got a lot of problems. Once you miss the roundabout, how do you, if you're coming from this way, how do you get to the hotel? You can't. You've got to come back through here and go through. So it doesn't work. So we're going to do something about that. Then there are a couple other things that I think are missing here, like postal service sorting and things of that nature that we're going to work into the build. So without any further ado, the very first thing I want to handle is this entryway. It was the biggest mistake in the build, and it's the one we're going to take care of first. So let's start out. We're going to pause this for a moment, and I just want to blast all of this away. Okay, so for me, this makes a ton of sense to do that because I think that we need to really prioritize getting from this right here, the aviation museum, to the hotels. That would be a significant tourism draw, and not being able to reach that was a bit of a miss on my end. So I'm going to move that temporarily. We've got a ton of money now, so we're not going to worry about money. And we're going to need to, I want to upgrade this road, I think, as well. We're going to make this the same street. So I'll need to bring those trees in so the nodes don't give me as many issues. And then I should be able to connect up. There we go. No problem. So now I want to find some way to make this connection logical. Of course, I don't have very much space over here to place this. I'll temporarily sneak that in right there. So let's back this out a little ways. And I'm going to turn this around the corner. And then we'll use our curved road tool to make that connection. So that's a nice connection through here now. And now we can focus on this. So I looked at some airports, particularly ones that you guys shared in the comments. And one that was pointed out was Atlanta International Airport and some of the configuration there. And I really like the way that the entryway is set up there. Basically, it's a loop that connects, and you can loop back around to get back through the airport. And there's a connection to a collector road that connects up some parking facilities and some other amenities. And that's something else that we're going to add as well. If you checked out the video I posted last week, Wednesday, I posted a video about parking lots that you can create in the asset editor if you are on a PC, and we are going to add some of those to the build. So to start out with, we're going to make this pretty basic. I added a guideline road there for myself so that I can easily create straight roads. So we're going to keep those. They'll be really helpful for us as we work through this. So now I'm going to create some parallel facilities here, and we're going to move these in even a little ways. So first, let's see if we can make our connection there. It's going to be a little bit wonky. We'll need to redo our ped connections, but that's a small sacrifice to make. So now that's a nice clean connection there. This one is going to be considerably more tricky. And I'm turning off the road guidelines because they're really making this a challenge. But then I'm going to turn them right back on. So after I get this part done. There we go. So I want to find a way to transfer everything from everyone from the lower level to the upper level. So that is going to be our next trick, because the real connection is going to occur above this collector. And we will have ramps as well. So we're just going to use our normal roads for the time being. I'll need to go a little bit further so I can make that connection. I'm running into some pillar issues, which is always a problem with bridges. But it's not insurmountable. Like there, I just added a pillar, and now I'm able to get across. I'll do the exact same thing over here. There we go. That is not quite as smooth as I would like it to be, though. So I'm going to take it back just a little ways and see if I can improve that. There we go. Now it has a bit of a sweeping movement. Not the most beautiful thing in the world, but we can keep refining and improving this. There we go. It's a little bit better. So what I want to do now is give the ability to transfer between the upper and the lower levels. We'll work on our directionality in a little while, but for the time being, I'm not going to get overly concerned about it. So we'll pop down and try to make a nice smooth connection to this lower level. There we go. And we're not going to just have this, we're going to also allow them to connect up to this collector as well. And truthfully, it may make the most sense to just have a road in. Yeah, no, we're gonna go this way. Lots of decisions that you've got to make while you're doing this that can be tough to make on the fly. I just don't love that. I don't love the way that looks. So we're gonna go back and let's focus on this directionality a little bit. And probably the most unique feature here, which is the ability to turn around. So this is something that was prominent at Atlanta that I thought made a ton of sense. Okay, so now I have a turnaround here, and I'd love to get that to be a little bit tighter. Might focus on that in the future, but for the time being, I just want to get the layout down. Okay, so let's get our directionality right. This might help us out a little bit. So you come in, and if you're going to departures, it's very easy now. You just come right down here, and you're there. And then when you're leaving, you can come back around. And if you miss your exit and you go past it, let's clean this up right away. Actually, we'll worry about that at the end. I think about it, because we might need a ramp here as well to get down. So here, you can also work to go to arrivals, and then when you're leaving, we'll mirror this. You're able to hop right back up and leave on the same road that you came in. So now the question is, what if you want to stay here? What if you want to go to the hotel? What do we do then? And I think that is our next concern. There we go. And I would love to make this a little bit smoother, but I did get rid of node controller. So we are not going to be doing that. And we're going to have something special a long way into the future to maybe address that, but not right now. And my thought behind node controller was basically this. There were people who were indifferent, and the people who were in favor of not having node controller were very passionate about it, because they felt that the series has really demonstrated that you can make a nice city without a bunch of mods. And that was one of the initial considerations, and I want to stay true to that. So I am going to stick with the vanilla-ness of this, and I think it's a good thing. So that said, here's where I need to do some node action to make this work. So I'm making my own node and trying to separate this connection just a bit. So I'm using the angle tool and creating my own nodes to try to make this bridge look a little bit better. A little finicky, but we'll get it. And I think the trick is actually starting from the upper level to get this to be right. And then I'll turn on road guidelines and hopefully be able to make a nice connection here. There we go. That's much better. Now, I also want a connection here. So we could have had a roundabout here as a way to kind of resolve the connection. I'm thinking there probably won't be enough traffic here to justify that. So for the time being, we're going to go without it. We'll see how this works for us. So I'm going to turn off everything so I can get a road that's roughly where I want it to be. And then we'll turn everything on and make a nice 90-degree connection here. So what we're going to do with this is have some sort of connection to this lower level. So if you wanted to come down here, you'd have to go to the lower level. But, and actually, now that I think about it, we're going to use this road up here to our advantage again. Let's come in right down the middle. And what we're going to do is make our connections into the side. So we got to get our directionality right again. And now here, we are going to have roads tee into this. Maybe not tee into it. Maybe we'll just have a nice angle coming off and leading into this. It looks like I can't really go any further than this. And then we'll make this a collector. Oh, no, we won't. Not with that junction anyway. So a little bit of guesswork here. This is not the type of project that you can just expect to do it once and it'll be perfect. That is not this kind of project. Okay, and that lines up a bit better with what I was hoping to do. Now clearly if I had node controller, this would be an opportunity to clean this up, make this look a little bit better. But even without it, it's going to be fine. We'll upgrade these so we have trees because we want to have that tropical look and feel here. So the only thing that I'm really regretful with all of this is that now there's just a lot impeding the pedestrian movements through here. That said, there's not a ton that I can do about that. So we're just going to need to live with a little bit of, you know, traffic mayhem up here. It's kind of unavoidable in my opinion when you're designing an airport anyway. Really, I mean, those people aren't walking to the airport, and even when they are within the airport, they're probably taking shuttles to get around. So here I'm going to add a stop sign to prioritize this movement through. This is really our priority movement through this area. And then the other thing we're going to do is make sure that we have all of our connections made here. And again, look at our traffic routes. I could go through and make this a priority road. I'm just not going to do that right now. Not a huge deal. There's not too many junctions. So now what I want to do is add a parking field. And one of the reasons I want to do that is it's an airport and it feels very unnatural to me to not have any parking. So in the previous last Wednesday rather, I posted a video showing you how to create a vanilla parking lot. That is only possible on the PC, unfortunately, but I feel like this is one of those things that if you have the ability to do something, you might as well. So I made a park, and one of the things about this park is that it allows me to place parking lots wherever I want. So you can see it right there, just a small airport parking lot. I'll put a link in the description to this asset set. I'm only using one right now, but I'm going to be designing a few more, and at some point off camera I'll replace them so that they work a little bit better. So the one thing about this though that I'm a bit concerned is to make these look nice, it really need to line up nicely side by side. So let's take a look, and there's a gap there. I don't love that. I'm going to see if there's anything that I can do to make that better. And it looks like my primary issue is that where this is connecting in. Thankfully, I can delete the road and add it back in, and that will fix everything. Now I can resume the build again, so I'm going to do that in just a moment. But I do need to connect this power line right back up. There we go. So I'm going to do one thing through the entire area, and that is remove on-street parking. That's going to be really beneficial for me in making sure that people are actually using the parking facilities that I'm placing. And you can see as soon as I added the tree line street, the parking went away and everyone moved over to this lot. And that is exactly what I want. We're going to do the exact same thing over here. There we go, a nice smooth connection through there. And I'm almost wondering if I could have gotten one more parking lot in there. And I could. And I really don't think there's such a thing as overdoing it here with parking, because it would be such a necessary thing at the airport. It's ugly. Like, let's not kid ourselves. It's not attractive. But it's an airport and parking is huge there. And even here, I could see there being some sort of short-term parking where maybe we add a route through here. I had this airport bus station, and I'm going to refrain from having buses at the airport. It was a thought initially, and I don't like it anymore. The main reason is we have so much other high-quality transit. If we're going to have a bus come here, they can just use the bus and taxi way that's built into the terminal itself. So we'll avoid that. So that said, I am going to add some parking lots up here. And this will be kind of a short-term parking sort of deal. And then we can replace some of these power lines with more parking. Ah, and it just doesn't fit in here the way that I want it to. So I'm going to at least tuck it back as far as I can. If I can't make it fit exactly how I want it, this is probably the best solution. The reason I say that is I would much rather be able to hide the parking behind some landscaping or something like that in this area if I can. So not beautiful, but necessary. So there we go. You can see that people are able to navigate through here. I didn't put my turnaround in here, and that's something I probably should do. The other thing is there's no ramp to get to the highway from the collector, and that's pretty important too. So let's, before I forget, let's make sure that we have that ramp available. And that's interesting. One of these ended up being at grade and the other one not. I'd like them both to be at grade if possible, so let's go ahead, make some adjustments, and make that happen. So I just raised the ground there a little bit, and then upgraded to a different road type, and then downgraded it, and it worked just fine. So the last thing that we're going to do is make a connection into here. I would love for this to line up with this intersection here, if at all possible. So what we're going to do is just add a road. This might cause us to modify this just a bit. Let's get all of our junctions off, maybe, or all of our snap twos off, and maybe that'll help us. Yeah, and I'm hitting this pillar right here, which is unfortunate. I'm going to pause this again for a second, get rid of that pillar, and try to make our connection. And I'll use road guidelines, so we get a nice connection there. And what I want to do is come through and have this line up nicely with this road. Okay, that was a bit tricky and it's a bit ugly, but I think it's going to do the trick for us. I really wish that this angle was coming in just slightly differently, but there's not a ton that I can do about it, unfortunately. Now, the real issue here is going to be that I need a pillar. So I'm going to need to move this just slightly, which is going to cascade down, unfortunately. It's one of those things. Okay, and I really dislike this angle here. I don't know that there's much I can do to improve that without continuing to rebuild this. So I might let perfect not be the enemy of good here. Oh, I don't know. I can't do that. I can't do it. It's too much. It's just too much. So the way that I could have probably addressed this would be to come back here and begin our angle at a slightly different area. So I'll angle back this way, come straight up, and this will give me a better approach angle as I come in here, which will leave me with a nicer connection. There we go. That is much better. So with this, again, we probably need to start our ramp up here, connect down, and then we'll connect up there. There we go. Feeling much better about this. Now I want to go ahead and upgrade some of our roads around here to make sure that we have trees on all of them. And then right here, this should all be highway segments. And we do need to do a bit of work here as well. We're going to need to add that turnaround. We'll get that in just a moment. And of course, it's mad at my parking lot. We'll deal with that in a bit. There we go. To me, that's feeling really good now. Really, really good. So let's fix that parking lot. Much better. Much better. Lastly, and not least at all, we need to have that turnaround, and that is probably going to be tricky. Just being completely upfront and transparent about that. There's just a lot going on here. Ideally, I think that we would have it cross right here and loop in where this loop is and mirror that. That's obviously not going to be easy to do in the vanilla game, but we can do our best. What I would love to do is just create a node And I'm not sure how easy or difficult this will be, but I'd like to have a node right in the center. And you see, the problem is I have 2 pillars with this asset. I wonder if this has 1 and makes it a bit easier. Turn off all my snap twos. Nope, it's not going to work, because I would love to have this and then use that as my guide. That said, maybe the trick is to just come out here and start that right off the bat myself. I'm really high right now, so let's see how low I can go. It's like that's about it. So I'm going to delete the segment I just created and see if I can come back through here. That didn't work. Yeah. So the other idea that I could pursue, and I'm going to probably live to regret this one, I'm going to get rid of that and see if I can make this a little bit nicer of a connection into the highway. Maybe get rid of one of those pillars. You know what? That just might work. That just might work. Nope, it will not work. Okay, so I've lowered this and added a new place. So it's a much steeper incline into the airport. But I'm hoping that that will help me. So let's give that a shot. See if we can mirror this on both sides. The idea there would be I'd be able to get this. I've got my bridge started right here. And now maybe I can make that turnaround a bit less stark. And of course, now I have a new issue. Well, what are you going to do? Okay, so now I have those at the same height. It's going to be a trick to get across. I'm going to need to either bump these out to add the pillars in between. That might be the best approach, actually. But I do like the heights a lot more anyway, so maybe that does the trick. And truthfully, yeah, that's probably my only approach at this point, is to go above. I got a crazy idea that it isn't going to work. So sometimes you just got to accept that that is the case. Okay, so this is working now. So my node is an issue here, but I'm wondering if I can make this connect anywhere. So if I straighten that up down here, I should be able to come through a little bit nicer. So we'll turn off angle, because angle's giving us some issues. And if we come down here, we can really control what we're doing. There we go. That's probably as good as we do in vanilla. Actually, that's as good as we do. So you got to play with your snap twos by tilting this a bit. But that's a really nice connection now. And now I believe that I could come through here. Can. Now this one pops up, and I don't love that, so we're going to need to do something about that height there. But we should be able to fairly simply make our connection. And I don't know why I said that. We know what that means. It won't be simple. Yeah, it went down. So give that another go. Maybe start on the opposite end. Oh, and for a split second we got it right. So there we go. Let's finish this thing off. I feel like we're going to get it. There we go. So now someone could turn around and head back into the facility if they accidentally leave. Now, if you're on the main story, you could do that. If you're on the top story, it all works. So very complicated, but we've thought about all the movements through there, and now it's good. So here we've got a little stretch of just normal roadway. I'm going to upgrade this to a highway. You're entering the highway, so you'd be able to pick up some speed there. This is really tough. A roundabout would probably be a ideal solution here. That said, sometimes you don't need ideal, you need good enough. So I'm curious as to what this looks like from a traffic standpoint. Obviously a bit tricky, and hopefully it doesn't back up too badly. But we've got all of our movements here, so I'm gonna take that as a win. So what we don't have now is some of our hotel access. So I want to get that back. We want to have some hotels again. And I'm going to smooth this out as we move on to detailing. I'm very excited to be moving on to detailing. So here we go. And I want to have a couple of hotels, but in between them, we do not have our ferry service anymore. We need to get that back. So first of all, we're going to flood everything out because that's what we do. We're going to add a road back here that'll go along the back end of our hotels. This will help us with our quay wall, which we will place our ferry onto. So for whatever reason, it really believes that there's water here. So it's telling me, nope, you can't build it. Can't go there. There we go. And we're going to face that towards the water. We're going to rotate this one around too, so the front entryway is facing the water. It's a luxury hotel. And obviously we want to look out at the city, not look back at the airport. That's what the folks over here can do, I guess. So we will, that's what separates luxury here. So, all right, now we've got that. And one of the things that I missed over here was I want to have some sort of access road around the airport. And that brings up something else that was mentioned, two things, truthfully. So number one, airports generally will have runways of differing lengths. And two, there's really no reason to have these going in different directions because that's not the way airports work. So we're gonna take care of that right now. So let's get rid of this runway here. We're gonna change the length and then add an access road before we continue to build out this way. And what we're going to build out here is we're going to build a little campus for our airport headquarters and some parking as well. So I do want to extend this out a bit. So we're going to take our airport district. I have it paused. I'm really desperately hoping I don't flood this whole thing out. Just want to, well, not enough soil. So we'll buy some more soil and then extend this thing out just a little ways. So one of the things that was mentioned in the comments that I thought was really a great idea that I haven't tried yet, but I want to, is using the park roads as guidelines. So the reason this should work is they automatically delete. So ideally, these would disappear after I put my runway down. So let's give that a shot. So let's head the same direction. So we'll start back here. Slope too steep. Now that's a new one. Oh, I wonder if it's still retaining the terrain height. I might need to let this all pass. Unfortunately, it still believes that this is underwater. Oh, and my ships, they're going to be very close. So let's, while this is doing its water thing, we're going to need to shrink up that runway just a little bit. Just a little bit. So it's good that we catch it now because the last thing we want to do is have more mayhem with water. So we'll just pull it back a bit. There we go. That should be good. And once our tsunami wave goes away, we should be able to place our runway. And it in fact is okay with it right now, so let's go for it. And it was so close. A little off, but that's okay. We can deal with a bit of imperfection. Nice connection right there. So I'm not overly concerned about that. So let's make our connection down here, and then we really need to square up the island. And for our directionality, we need to make sure that that is correct as well. So you could turn around back here. Truthfully, this extra runway piece is no longer needed right here, so let's back that out. And then we'll just have our turn begin right here. So I think ideally we would actually change the directionality of this taxiway entirely. The two of these. A little bit wonky, but it makes more sense in the long run. Okay, and I think I got that one segment where you couldn't leave a taxiway because I had the road, the taxiway going in the wrong direction, but I want to double check all of them. I'm just going to hover over and just make sure that nothing's off, because it's those short segments that can really trip you up. Okay, there we go. I think we're good. And the nice thing is this is going to free up a little bit of space for us to do some other things. So what I want to do is, I really think that we need postal service sorting back here. So we're going to add that back here. Let's see how much space we have. I'd love to. Oh, we're going to back that off one tile because it's just kind of messy. So we'll send this back here. Hopefully that's not too close to the runway. We're gonna have to look. There are a couple of things I want to add back here that I think are really important. So the first being postal service. Let's see. I always lose track of this one. There it is. It's under industries or garbage and industry, and then it's post sorting facility. Just kind of a weird spot. Yeah, that's way too close. Let's get rid of this and see if I can just sneak it right here. It actually fits like a glove. That's perfect. So the other thing I want to factor in back here is taxis. Oh, and I can't have my road going around. That's unfortunate, but I'm not sure how critical that is. That said, if it is critical, in the comments, please let me know. I want to know how important that generally is to an airport. If you're a pilot or you work at an airport, let me know. Ooh, and look at how close we're getting. Well, we're gonna live with that a little bit. So I'm gonna use my angles here and see if I can just get this to go. Shoreline required. Not gonna be happy with that. Same thing there. So we're gonna need to do a little bit more terraforming to make this a little bit closer to what it needs to be. It's always a little bit tricky to figure out exactly what it wants from you, but a little bit of playing and you can figure it out. So while that's doing its flooding thing, let's focus on taxis. So one of the things mentioned in the comments on a couple of occasions is that if you really want your postal, if you really want your taxis to work, you've got to have a whole bunch of depots. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to add a whole bunch of depots. So I added this connection there. I'm kind of regretting that. Let's not do that. We'll come through here. Add a short road. And then what we're going to do is just have a number of these down here. So I think ideally this would be one facility. I'm curious. If I get rid of this road, can I pull this down a little bit, maybe get one more in here? I think the answer is yes. So we're going to go for that. There we go. Yeah, so that's what I was hoping for. So now we have lots of taxis. They're all going to be coming from back here once this is no longer flooded, entering through there. Look at that line of cars trying to get underneath here. What a mess. And let's see if it's going to let us add our key walls. I really hope it does. Let's see. Let's see. There we go. There we go. And now for our last bit of flooding in this area. Just taking this down a little bit. There we go. That looks good. That looks really good. And we've got our plane procession coming down here to take off. So that tells me that this is working correctly. So very, very good. Now let's do a couple of things down here. And what I want to do is extend this concourse out a bit. So we're going to pop into here. We'll extend it out just a little ways. Just to try to mirror this a little bit, we can potentially add a couple of more small taxi stands or plane stands down here as well. And I said potentially because it's very mad at me right now for doing all of this. There we go. Not exactly perfect. I think I could really try to move this over. But I could try to move this over, but I'm not sure that it's going to be super successful. I can't leave it. I can't. Let's give it a shot. Okay, that's better. And if you won't tell anyone that these aren't even, I won't either. I think it's good enough. I think that we are going to not let perfect be the enemy of good here. This is pretty darn good. I'd rather have this road straight than the stands line up perfectly. Just unfortunate because over here it does. I'm wondering, how many did I get over here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 uncomfortably spaced. Yeah, it's a little different. I mean, it looks symmetrical, but it's just a little bit different. So I'm noticing a couple of interesting things. Water right there. This color is off. If I had move it, what I would do is just hit reset on this a bunch of times. Without move it, all I can do is delete it and then replace this and hope that it is red. It is blue now. Blue, green, red. There we go. That's what we were hoping for. So we'll stick with that because if we get 2 red right there, we're good. So now that we have this extended, I'm going to extend our parking over just a bit. And then we can turn this road around. And what we're going to do over here, we'll probably leave a significant chunk of this open. We'll connect that road up here. And we'll have our fence go around here. You'll be able to take a look at this. If you were over here, we'll have some landscaping, some grasses maybe. Let's go ahead and focus on our fencing for just a little... Actually, no. We're not going to focus on our fencing yet. We have water pipes to put underneath that road. And I'm okay with this one going into the parking lot. That's just as good. But we need to get our ferries set up. And that's going to actually involve us coming back here and moving some of these assets. The interesting thing is these assets... they have the road built in, which is really frustrating when you're building some of these things. But we're going to try to do our best and make it work. So first, the key wall is going to be very helpful for us. And we'll grab that and just click until it snaps. So we got that in place. And now we want to grab our other ferry. So let's extend this down. I shouldn't have got rid of that road. Yeah, I'm going to have node issues here. I wonder how far back I can take this. Because I'd really like to have another node right here. So I'm turning only angle on so I can make a new node for myself and then I'll connect that up. The reason I want that is I want the ferry to be in a good spot to connect up. I don't want it to be way over here or just butting up against that road so that these are touching. That's not going to work. So this is the depot. Maybe that's not a wonderful spot for it. We could sneak that somewhere else. It's not really necessary to have this directly on the route. And I'm probably going to move it. But we'll put that right there. Let's move this. Problem is there's not really any good roadway access to this now. Yeah, that's a challenge. It's a challenging place to work at this point. And I might just sneak it over here. We're going to fix this, but for the time being, that's where I'm going to put it. So I think ideally it would be right here or over here. There's just no way to fit it in anymore. And this is kind of the more things you try to sneak into your build, the more challenging it can be. And I'm trying to sneak a lot of things in here. So the reason I don't want this there, though, is we don't have a cruise ship port either. So let's see. I'm concerned about the lines. If I can't fit the cruise ship port here, yeah, there's our issue. How far over would we need to be? Right there, basically. So I wonder. So let's flood this area out like we like to. And I'm wondering if I add a key wall here. There's nothing I can do to make it like this. So with that being the case, I might as well keep this over here. And then around the corner, we'll put our cruise ship port. For whatever reason, it did not like me placing this here while this road connection was here. So I just did a little bit of work to change that. So there we go. Let's pull this over here. We're going to send this road as close to the edge as we can. and then send it up here, and I'm going to see if I can fit my cruise ship port right here. Same deal, lots of clicking. It finally worked. So that works for me. I'm okay with this. So what we're going to do here is we'll send a road down once the water dissipates. There we go. Now, the one thing I really want to change here as I look at this, it's a choice to come in right there. So let's extend this road just a little bit so we can have that transition between the local and the collector appear to be a bit more natural. I like that a lot more, And then we'll get some water pipes down here as well. We're going to need to get power down here, but that's going to be a bit more natural. So we are going to have just a scotch of zoning around here, and that's going to be in this area. I think that we could have some tourist zoned buildings, maybe some leisure as well. A little bit of fickleness to get this to work, but it's a much better configuration now. So we have our airport headquarters, and I do think we're going to want to move that. And what we're going to do is just center this, or I guess make our focal point the hotels or the collector in one corner. And then we're going to have parking next to that as well. Just really overdo it with the parking here. Now I'm going to have just my grid on so I can make sure that I'm getting that exact length that I need to be able to get the parking to work. And here I'll use road length to try to line that up. And then we'll come right in here. There we go. Perfect. We should be able to get our parking in there now. And I push this towards the back so that at the front we could have some sort of decoration, maybe a taxi stand, something of that nature. And we're going to have our fence back here. We're not going to have connectivity back there, not really all that necessary. Okay, so now I think I want to get some of my zoning in here so that we can actually get moving on some of our detailing. So what we're going to do is over here near the parking lot, where you're going to have a leisure zone, and here we're going to continue a tourism zone. So let's create that now. And in the comments, drop a name for these two districts, because I'm out of ideas right now, but I'm sure that you guys have some good ones. So here we go. That will be our tourism district. That is our leisure district, and this district is driving me crazy. That looks terrible. So let's clean this up as well. Okay, that's wholly unnecessary, and I probably created some new problems, but I just like my districts to look nice, even if it's a self-leveling district. Now that said, one of the things you might have noticed is that I pulled this closer, and that's because this island is really encroached upon the beach, and at this point, it's basically turning into a peninsula. So let's see if we can clean this up at all. We'll get this to, I'll have to, well, there's only so far I can go apparently. This is currently the height of realism as we do this. Maybe I just wanted to flood it a little bit. I like flooding. So over here, it's going to be the same deal. I'm going to leave it. So I wanted to pull this in. I thought it might look a little more natural to not have this area here, but with all of the things happening right here underground, it's just not going to work. If I dip this down, I need to raise this up, and if I raise this up, it blocks the runway. So that's not going to work for me. I'm going to need to just accept this as is and put my district back. Okay, so let's get some zoning over here, and I want to extend this road a little bit. And I'm going to turn just angle on so it lets me go as close as I can to this. And then let's really think about what people would want to do here. So this is going to be our leisure district. Let's be able to walk from here over to here. There we go. So now I'm going to add some zoning. This place should absolutely explode with activity. And along here, I'm going to add more parking. And apparently forget where the asset I made is. So there we go. Would not want to park right there. So I did read the comments for the parking video, and one of the things that I will likely do before the next episode is rotate this parking around. Because right now there's no way to get into the parking lot, and it would be a lot nicer. It's tough. I mean, I could have made rows in this. I could have made this, an 8x4 asset, and that would have worked a little bit better potentially for some of this. But, at a certain point, you've kind of just got to let it go and not let perfect be the enemy of good. I certainly didn't do that. It is good, but not perfect. All right, so there are a number of things we need to take care of now. You can see this right here is upset with me. It's not connected to anything. We've still got our electricity over here that needs to move. Let's do this so we at least get this part of the build complete. And I think having this over here would make a great deal of sense. Except that we don't have a road. So yes, it would not make a great deal of sense. And I've blocked the ability to create one. I wonder. Wow. It will let me get away with that. I think that is just getting away with something. It's probably not good, but I think we're going to take a look and see what happens. So yeah, this is not a good spot for this, but, I don't know that I have a lot of great spots, so for the time being, I think we're going to let that one go. The boats, because of how unnaturally they come in, it looks just fine. So I do want to clean up some of these edges I just tampered with and destroyed. And as long as I don't get too close to the shore, I should be able to pull this down. Okay, so now I'm going to try to have the new quay walls go underneath here. This is likely going to be a trick because of our train tracks. So I could just avoid that area. I know that I've done that in many vanilla builds where I just go ahead and completely skip that area, add some rock features instead. That is a perfectly acceptable way of handling this. That said, I much prefer it to look complete, so let's see what we can do. So I took care of the easy parts. Now I'm left with the other stuff. The other stuff is this right here, and you can see the quay wall is just higher than this interchange is. So that is a real struggle. You can't lower this or raise this, so I don't really know what you do. The only thing I could think of is potentially pulling this out just a bit further and seeing if I'm just too close to those pillars. So let's see what that does. The other thing you can do is just go in and grab your curved road tool and see if you can do anything there. I think that the real solution would be to raise this up just ever so slightly. And the problem is I can't without totally destroying this bridge. I could also pull this out even further. Be another solution. Yeah, see, it likes that. And now I can do my angle and road guidelines to make my final connection over here, hopefully. There we go. It's not beautiful, but it is connected. So I think we're gonna roll with that. We'll decorate around here to try to make it look a little better. I don't know. This one right here, on the other hand, that one is gonna be a tougher nut to crack. So I'm just going to raise this up to try to create a new shore that maybe is a bit easier to work with. Trying to get it away from the start of that bridge. You can see it's clipping into it already, and that is part of my problem. But apparently that was good enough for City Skylines, so we're going to go with it. There we go. I don't love the way that this quay wall looks, but I do love the way it looks in relation to having nothing, because that would be much, much worse. There's nothing I can do with this. Ooh. Look at that. I wish that I could do that. That is slick. Anarchy, if you were here, I would do that. All right. So we are going to do some fencing, but before we get to that, I want to look at our road directionality because I've been noticing some issues and it's going to drive me absolutely bonkers. So let's do that right now. Right here, for instance, there is no directionality. So now we've got that. Same thing here. And here. Okay, now those are right. Here was another one that I noticed was wrong. This is looping in the right direction. That's correct. That's correct. Over here, I noticed that I forgot to add trees. Look at that. You're getting some good utilization of the parking lots. I don't really understand why. If you look, I mean, why is this row so filled in? I don't get it. I don't get it. I also don't love what I did right here. There's a gap. I'm wondering if I can move this over just a bit. That's a no. So we're going to put some trees to make that feel a little bit better. It's doing the same thing over here. That middle row is really popular. Same thing there. I don't get it. I don't get it. Some things are not meant to be understood. That is one of those things. All right, so here, we're going to upgrade these. So I want all tree-lined or grass-lined streets so that we don't have parking. Although I think on the collectors there's still parking, unfortunately. So there's not. Maybe bike lanes are the only one that gets rid of the parking. Yeah, and we're not going to have bike lanes here. That's a little much. Like the bus lanes, even that keeps the parking. So we'll get rid of the trees underneath the bridge because that doesn't make all that much sense. We'll keep it everywhere else. Okay, we're looking a lot better. The last thing we need to look at over here in relation to roads before we do our trees is this. And I mentioned earlier making this a priority road. One of the reasons I didn't want to is look at what it's doing here. So there we go. So I'll set that as a priority road. Now this loop can be named something else. We are going to name some roads, but I'm going to save that for a live stream. It's been a little while. Last time I tried, the city was hit by a tsunami. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Could it really happen again? Could it? All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to place our large palm trees. These are, let's see, California fan palm. We'll place those down the center of this one. And I think we're going to go with something a little bit smaller on the side streets. So we have these coconut trees. We could do that. What else do we have? We have this generic date palm. And as I look at these, I like the look of both. Why don't we go with the date palm over here and we'll go with the coconut tree by the hotels. And if this road were straighter, I would definitely have some parking down here. But I think we're going to avoid it. Wow, look at all of that congestion. What's going on here? Oh, it's my priority. It destroyed my roundabout. So that's something to always watch out for. Yep, one stop sign ruins the roundabout. I wonder, how far back does that priority go? Looks like we're okay at other places. Yeah, I always got to check that with roundabouts and priority, because it will break everything if you're not careful. There we go. So now let's add those trees back in over here. We'll go with the coconut tree over here. There we go. So this, in my opinion, makes it all the more glaring that we have these assets with built-in roads, which it's really a shame. I wish they weren't like that. It's fine. I just wish that I had a little bit more control in that one area. That's me being a control freak over the build, though, I guess. In vanilla, you've got to relinquish a bit of control to the game, and that's okay. Just pulling this in a little bit, just quickly. Doesn't need to be perfect. It can be good enough. I'm just spinning all the way around, and the island is looking pretty darn good, except for this spot right here, which has been a struggle. I think this key wall probably could have ended earlier on this side, but I do like the symmetry, so I'm going to leave it, and I'm not going to do the work to get it back, because I think we all know how difficult that would be. So I can't make this look good, so we're going to detail to make this look a little bit better. For some reason, this one spot, and I think that some reason is the... Let's try one thing. There we go. Just pull that up a little bit further, and that seemed to do the trick. See if it'll let me. That's better. That's better. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. So I'm gonna go through and add some fencing at this point to try to keep all of the patrons away from not the Patreon patrons, but all of the users of the airport away from popping back here. So we're gonna need some sort of fencing. So what I think we're gonna do is we'll start that right back here. I'm gonna turn on angle only, and I'm gonna pull it too far purposely because I want this to follow this key wall, and I'm gonna use that for my angle. We'll just pull this all the way down, perfectly straight. Oh, no, we won't. We'll end this at some point. I don't know how much this would matter once you get back there anyway. No one is gonna walk up. Maybe the place to end it is actually at the key wall. I'd be curious. I know that there have been a couple of folks in the comments who are very knowledgeable about airport security, and I'd be very curious. We'll stop it right there. Would we fence all the way around? It's an island, so does that factor in at all or not really? And it looks really weird. So part of me just wants to pull it all the way back, but you know, we've got that issue with our key wall and tunnel. It's mad. Ooh, it's gonna let me do it. Here's where I don't let perfect be the enemy of the good, and I just leave it here. It's mad about going on water, and this is more key wall madness. I think I could play with that all day and not get it right. So maybe that's where I need to draw the line. So here's interesting. Because of where the runway is, I can't just come back and cut this off. So what I'm going to do is I'll come right here, draw a fence, I'll turn on my angle, come back. And I was unaware that I could actually place this behind. So I am going to just try to find that node. There we go. So now when you look at it from this end, it looks like there's a security fence. Now here, I would love to pull this back, but that's going to be the same issue. So from an aesthetic standpoint, I think that's probably good enough. Now, when we look through here, look at this. Getting some activity. I'm wondering, there's our first cruise ship coming right along. Yeah, we've got some activity. We need to get this working now, though. So let's go into our ferries menu. And the reason it is unhappy is it's not connected to anything. So we've got our old ferry route. Comes out there. Let's pull this back. Just like it's a road, make our connection. Now I'm just going to modify our old ferry route. This is the one that used to come down here, and then just we stopped it. So we'll pull this back over, add a stop, make sure we've got 2 stops over here. There we go. There we go. So now when we come over here, we're seeing our boat spawn. There we go. That's looking good. This isn't a bad looking asset, so maybe it's not the end of the world that it's right by these hotels. It does block the first few stories, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe. And it's not a tall hotel, but it's okay. You pay more for those sweet, sweet views of Verde Beach. It happens. So we're going to go with it. Now here I do want to clean up the terraforming just a bit. There we go. That looks... Oh, I'm gonna let perfect be the enemy of good here. We're just gonna go for it. There we go. So I would love to understand... Oh, that is no good. We are gonna need to signalize this. There's enough demand for it. In fact, this is looking pretty broken. I would love to improve this angle if I could. That is not a today project, though. That's a... Well, I hope it doesn't become a today project. I'll put it that way. But it's looking like something more needs to be done with this ramp. It's just not good enough. And it's unfortunate because I'm curious. Let's look at the paths. Yeah, lots of left-hand turns there. This just might need to be a roundabout. This is drawing in all that freight traffic that was... Oh, there's still a lot going on that bridge, too. The other thing that we could do... Oh, I've got an idea. I've got an idea. You might not like this, but we'll make a new district here. No freight. The only policy that we're going to have is a heavy traffic ban, and hopefully that'll keep our trucks off this road. Go around if you want to get here. Meander your way through here. There's a way to get there. So you don't have to go onto the highway. You can come down, clog up this road, and then come down this collector here. And maybe that'll be a rationale that for upgrading this tunnel in the future. For the time being, it's just fine. We'll see how that works, because I did not like all the traffic that we're seeing there. It's actually taking our traffic flow percentage in our city down with it, so that's a bad one. Okay, so now we need to get power here in a way that's a little bit more natural. If there is a way to get it here, it's more natural. I don't know that there is. The best we could probably do would be to kind of get hokey with some of our power stations. So what I think I'm going to do is just extend this district over. Considering that is tourism or leisure anyway, to me it makes some sense. Let's have this here, and let's rethink this road. What we'll do is turn it so we can get a little bit more density here. And that's not beautiful. That's actually a very terrible intersection. So let's go ahead and try to make that better if we can. There, that is better. And that is even better than that. So let's upgrade our trees, and then we're going to zone this and get this going. Now, I'm hoping that this fills in quickly. The other thing that we could do to try to raise up land values a bit here is maybe add a fishing pier in. And hopefully that will also make our power connection. There we go. Good enough. Kind of a weird location for it, but we'll take some liberties in this location. Better than putting in something like a marina, which just doesn't really make a ton of sense right here. Okay, so it's time to decorate. It's time finally to decorate. So first thing I want to start out with is some fencing, and I want to put those around all of these parking facilities. So I'm going to go through just with angle and do so. Now, I am going to go absolutely hog wild with some of the assets from the update, because they're so beautiful. But one of the comments that I read mentioned that we need to make sure there are no trees back here so birds don't perch in them. Apparently there are actually marksmen at some of these airports that are going around and trying to scare away birds, because you get a bird inside of the jet. Not a good thing. Oh, right through. Okay.
Tap. Wow, look at that. I have magical powers. This is so cool.
We really should do something unique. And what I think we're going to try to do, and maybe fail at, is write MIA. Okay, that's not good, but that's not terrible. So I think we're going to go with it. And part of me was thinking about adding my own Blucifer here. If you are unaware of Blucifer, it is the horse at the Denver International Airport that has glowing red eyes. It is an absolutely terrifying sight the first time you see it. And it killed the artist that made it. So if you want an interesting read, learn about Blucifer. It's wild. We could put fencing or something like that around here. The park fence is pretty good for that, just to keep people out. Okay, I am really enjoying this. These new assets are just so great, and they're so much fun to place. I think I'm gonna go pretty basic back here. There's not a lot that I'm really excited to decorate. Maybe just a couple of trees near these overlooks. What I really love to have back here is surface painter, bluntly. That to me would be the most valuable thing to add back here. So just a couple of trees, not much. I know that even that's probably too much. The other thing we need to do is we need to look at this stand right here, and what I was told in the comments is that we're probably overdoing it. Probably got too many of them. And if we are going to have two, one should be at the front and the other at the back. And as long as it has a 365-degree view of the runways, it's probably okay. So the best place for this is probably right there, where we had little stands. I'll just put it right there. That would provide a view of every single runway. You wouldn't need this other one that we have over here, so I will get rid of that for the sake of realism. Now I want to check our stats. Oh, we are just far beyond with attractiveness. And you know what? I think that what we've done today is very good. And I'm curious to know what you think, so let me know in the comments. But before you do that, let's take a look at all of these pedestrians who are on a city tour. Okay, maybe that wasn't a city tour. Maybe that was an airport tour, but that's what we've been doing. So and this is the end of the airports. We've built a brand new Mulligan International Airport, and I hope that you liked it. If you did, please hit the like button. If you aren't subscribed, please consider doing so, and let me know what you think of this. Is there anything that is really polarizing that I've done here that you really don't like? Let me know. And I will catch you in the next one. Take care, and thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.